Hello and welcome to the Brick News, the happy corner of the internet. We are at episode 102, and as always we are talking about set updates and announcements from all the major brands. Information is presented as always by setdb.org, the best source for set information on the internet. And this is where we're going to go, and we will go through all the brands in alphabetical order, and we will start with BlueBrixx, a brand over here from Central Europe. And here we have first the Audi R8 LMP. I think that is the Le Mans version 108572. This is a Technic set that represents this racing car. I think I did talk about this car in the past, 150 euros. Actually, it's not in the ZDB yet, but I think I saw on the Instagram channel of BlueBrixx that this thing has also lighting included, but something I couldn't confirm from the metadata. Anyhow, 150 euros is the price point that is confirmed. Please keep in mind, as always, over here, at least in Germany, that includes value add tax, which is actually in Germany 19%. So that keep that in mind, because depending on from where you order, you may have to pay it or not. Anyhow, then there is the Audi Sport Quattro Group B 1984 108337. I did talk about the set as well in the past. There's still a bit of confusion also in the community if the motorization is actually included in the set or if you have to buy it as an extra package. Yeah, it actually does say electronics not included. So my guess is there is a package where you can buy this electronic package from Extra, but actually I don't have it here. I don't have a listing for that yet. You may have to check out the BlueBrixx store. Anyhow, BlueBrixx is asking for 200 bucks. That's actually not cheap, considering that the electronics is not included, but it does have 3,887 pieces, so it's not a small set. Both of these sets actually are from Xingyu, so the company that is making also Happy Bird sets, and actually these two sets are also available from this brand, so it seems to be basically the same set. However, I think the Happy Build version already includes the motorization package. I think it's not optional, but again, something you may want to double check before you order. And with that, we're moving on to the display container 108877 by BlueBrixx, again from the same company, because they actually use this container also for the power block sets that they do, basically the 8-stud cars. I did talk about those in the past quite a lot. So they all of them have this container included. So BlueBrixx has now also a BlueBrixx branded version that they sell extra. It's a bit unfortunate though that there's BlueBrixx brands on that, because if this one would be like more vanilla, I think it would be a really cool thing to basically store your Speed Champion or general 8-stud car collection. But I don't know if you want to have the BlueBrixx brand all the time. In general, these boxes are very cool, quite high quality. You can stack them, you can open them up in the front and on the side, so it's actually a pretty cool design. But again, I'm not sure if I want to have the BlueBrixx brand on everything. Also available now are two BlueBrixx playsets. First of all, the large barn 108173, and it's actually quite large. It has almost 1,800 pieces. I mean, think about it. I mean, this is a kid set. And I don't know, you have to look a lot and search quite a while to find a Lego kit set that actually has that many pieces. And it's only, in quotes, 100 euros, 5.6 cents a piece. And yeah, I think it's a very cool set. It has a lot of detail. And I really like the design, and I really like that the kids really have to build something, right? I mean, Lego City Days sets nowadays are not only tiny, but basically they are just, 5 panels and that is that. And here you have there are a ton of panels in there as well, but you also have a lot of meat to the bone, so to say. Then they have available now also the Elementary School 108291. This one goes even far and beyond the large barn, because it feels even more like solidly bricked. Yes, there are panels and windows in there, but still there's also a lot of bricks and regular plates in there as well. And it has 11 minifigures, which is quite extensive. 1,708 pieces. You can buy this one now from BlueBrixx for 110 euros. I should also mention, next to the VAT thing, BlueBrixx, I think, at least in Germany, they're asking for 5 euros, I think, for shipping, but it's free after 200. However, I don't know how it is for other countries in Europe. And I think they're also shipping across the pond, but then, of course, you also have to check what is coming in addition to customs and shipping and everything. Anyhow, also available is a little black cat 107953. BlueBrixx is asking here for 40 euros, 4.3 cents a piece. You know, this thing, yeah, it's a little black cat. I assume that the eyes are pet printed pieces because this is usually what BlueBrixx is going for. They almost never use stickers in BlueBrixx Pro sets. But it's hard to tell actually from the pictures, but my guess is that the eyes are pet printed pieces. With that, moving on to CaDA, and here we have another building of the Japanese building series. 66012 is the Japanese Zento, which I'm pretty sure I pronounced entirely wrong, but anyhow, it has 1,249 pieces. Lighting is included as well, and I think what is interesting about this one is it's actually bigger than the previous sets. I think there was even a picture included. Yeah, here you can see them all side by side. I think, if I remember correctly, they have always been a bit deeper than just 16 studs, more like 20 studs or something. And this is also the case in this building here. However, usually they were just like 16 or 18 studs wide, and this one here goes all out to 32 studs because there is a garden on this side included as well. Nevertheless, we are at 6 sets now, and yeah, I think they look quite beautiful together. So if you're interested in, you know, recreating Japanese suburbs, something like that, this may be for you. Please keep in mind that, at least in my experience, all of these sets, everything that looks printed here is usually a sticker. At least this has been the case in the past. However, I do know that CaDA, you know, has been working a lot in recent months and years to get more prints in their sets. So I don't know, it feels like they're still a little bit behind compared to Pantasy and Funhole, for instance, but I don't know. My guess is stickers based on my experience so far with these sets, but I can't confirm this, I'm sorry, at this point in time. By the way, if you have insights on that, on every SetDB page, you will always find this link down below here called Missing or Wrong Data. If you do this, then of course you have to log in, but after that, you will come to a form as soon as my internet is talking with me again. And then you have this change form where you can basically change the value, for instance, I don't know, stickers and prints here, and send this as a change request, and then I will take a look. With that, we are done with CaDA. Let's move on to Cobi. No big news here. I just want to let you know that we have now the first availabilities over here in Europe. For instance, for the Lockheed F117-5903. It's not linked in for you here because the shop that actually has it available only has a German version of their site. But still, I think quite an interesting update. The same is true for Panzerkampfwagen 6 Tiger Ausführung E. I don't know, this is a wild German-English mix here. In German, full German would be Panzerkampfwagen 6 Tiger Ausführung E. And I have no idea how to pronounce the entire thing. But usually what people say, I guess, internationally is just the Tiger tank. But actually, German tanks were not called tanks. Nowadays, they're actually called Panzer, which is a direct translation of tank. But back in the day, during Second World War, they were Panzerkampfwagen, which basically means like tank, battle wagon, battle car. Armored battle car. I think that is a better direct translation. Yeah, it's an armored battle car. I think this is how they were called back in the day. 2735, same thing by Cobi. Now also available with the first retailers over here in Europe. However, now let's move forward to something more interesting. A GULY, there's another Raceforge car. I don't know, I think I talk about these now like every week. They are releasing a ton of these. 10649, my guess is it's supposed to be a Lamborghini. But anyhow, as always, GULY is not bothering with getting a license, so it's just a white supercar. 3,970 pieces. My guess is, like in the past, you can get a motorized version and a non-motorized version and static version. However, please keep in mind, with GULY, sometimes, I think not every time, I've actually never built one myself, but you know, we have published, at least on the German side, several community reviews. And what I usually read out of those is that many of these sets have like two motorization versions, like a standard version and like a premium version, with just more motors and more functionality. So I actually don't know what bar we are in this case with a pre-order option for $185 US, if that is which motorization this actually is. But there's also a static version available in the lower $140 range. Not too shabby. With that, we're moving on to Lego. And yes, I do know when I published last week the news, this was already out, but nevertheless, I want to still cover it. So in a nutshell, I mean, we will go through all of them piece by piece, but in a nutshell, I think this August wave of Star Wars is maybe with one exception. I mean, no, there's no exception. They are all pretty cool. Very good sets, very nice sets, very large on minifigures. It seems like Lego on the Star Wars side, at least with this wave, is going more and more in the minifigure direction. Like, okay, folks, these sets are expensive, but you get a ton of very cool minifigures. So I think they all exceed on the minifigure side. These sets are okay. They're usually relatively small, but they are okay. They're good. And so you have brilliant minifigures, good sets overall, and then you have an absurd price point. I think this is, in a nutshell, what the entire wave now is. And yeah, I think you can see this pretty well with the MTT 75435. So this thing has couple of very interesting minifigures. First of all, you have Commander Bly included, which is really cool. You know, you want to have a commander in a large set. There will also be a accompanying battle pack, which is a lot cooler than it was with the ATTE, right? Because with the ATTE, with the 212s, you only had the figures in the large set, and here you now have in the large set the commander, and then you get a battle pack extra, which is really cool. It's in this case, the 327s. Then you have a very well and beloved Jedi included, and you have 3 commando droids, which I think is really cool. You also have this tank driver droid, which is in general good news. I think we saw this updated version in a gift with purchase, May the 4th. I think it was last year, maybe the year before, in this Federation troop transport thingy. The problem is that this year is a render picture, and I did actually publish a review on the gift with purchase, so if you may want to check this one out. Actually, we can just briefly go like, I don't know, was it transport? No, it was maybe something like droid. What was the name? I can't recall. Federation? Trade Federation Troop Carrier it was, 40686. So I did publish a review on this one, and I may have this picture here. Yeah, this is how the print looks in reality. And it's quite awful. I mean, let's give Lego the benefit of the doubt. They may have fixed this since then. I doubt it though. Anyhow, the problem is the print in general is not very good. It's not really covering the blue, and then they have a huge problem with this trademark stuff on the mold, and they just can't overprint it quite well. So let's compare the picture from a second ago with this picture. This looks a lot better. So that's a typical problem of Lego today. But again, I haven't built the set yet. I will definitely build it. And I will, of course, take a deep, close look on this minifigure. Anyhow, then you have just 6 regular battle droids. It's not too bad, but I don't know. I at least have enough of them. But you have 3 of new made commander droids, which is really cool. So in general, you have a good commander and a great Jedi and 3 commander droids, which is quite amazing. The set itself, same story. It looks quite nice, actually. It's maybe a bit small for my taste, but I think the brick design is really state-of-the-art. The cover in front seems to be a pad-printed piece, which is really cool. There are also a couple of stickers included, but personally, you know, you could just ignore them. Still would look cool. However, it's also a relatively small set. And of course, especially compared to the ATTE, it should be a lot bigger. But here you go. Yeah, long story short, in a nutshell, good brick design, bit too small, cool minifigure selection, and then Lego's asking for $160 US. That's 16.4 cents a piece. This is really a lot. Over here in Europe, you can already see retailers already go into the race with quite some discounts, and I think they have to. This thing is simply too expensive. I think the ATTE went down here in Europe sometimes to 90 euros. And I think this is what we will see with the set as well. By the way, quite interestingly, this is again one of the few examples that is actually more expensive in the US. So you don't have dollar-euro parity that we usually have. With that, moving on to the Juggernaut, the clone turbo tank 75413. And it's the same story, I would say. The minifigure selection, of course, you know, having Galactic Marines now again, or maybe it's is it even the first time? I don't even know if Lego, I think they did Galactic Marines in the past, right? So then they are doing them again. The tile on the back is actually not printed, which is weird if you ask me. They did this in the past. I don't know. We never saw in the movie. They are, of course, from the third movie, and we never saw them from the back. So I guess they can get away with it. But next to that, that this is not printed, this is of course great news, right? Having 3 Galactic Marines, and they are also for a clone, very high quality. Hips are printed, which is not the standard. I think the new helmet is really amazing. They, went all the way and made also a new mold, as far as I can tell. This is not the Snowtrooper mold. And then you have the commander included as well. Cool helmet again, and of course Mundi as a new version, or as a new minifigure as well, which is also great news. I mean, you can skip the droids. So all in all, great minifigure selection. The set itself, the tank, I think it's also quite nice. I really like the new brick built wheels. It seems to have a nice interior. Of course, the size is completely wrong, and I'm not even talking about minifigure scale, but these things are, of course, a lot bigger than ATTE is, and I think this thing here, maybe it's the same size, maybe it's even smaller. So yeah, it is a bit too small, but in general, nice brick build design, really like it. But now comes the price point, and they are again asking for $160 US, and this thing has even less pieces and less minifigures compared to the MTT. So this thing is now 19.7 cents a piece. And this, I think, is clearly because they absolutely know people will buy this thing like crazy because they did in the past. And I think this is also maybe one of the sets where Lego is clearly putting into consideration that the old set is one that, went up in value like crazy. So I think they're absolutely counting on these people who call themselves Lego investors, putting this thing in, in storage like crazy. And I think that is exactly why they went for this price point. I don't know if it's gonna work, but I will at least do a review on this one. I guess on my German YouTube channel, so nothing over here. But I will build it, and I think, again, overall, nice set, but the price point is just ridiculous. With that, moving on to something that is a bit strange, I would say, because we're getting 1st of August, a new UCS set, the ATST Walker 75417. Does that actually mean that the rumored Death Star is not coming? I think it still is. I think that is still the state of the rumor union. So I think we will see a large UCS set as well, but they decided to go for this one in the August wave, which I think is cool. Having more UCS sets is generally a good thing. I think with $200, it's currently the cheapest, in quotes, UCS set in the portfolio. And quite frankly, I mean, I haven't built it, and I know some of the reviews have been quite mixed, but I really like the design, I must say. I think it looks really cool. It is I guess I haven't checked done the numbers, but I think it's a minifigure scale ATST. At least this is how it feels. And maybe it's a bit too large for that, but in general, it looks really amazing, I think. And yeah, I think there's nothing to complain about. I think it's a pretty cool set. I don't know if it's worth $200, but I think it looks nice. 1,513 pieces. Then we're coming to the battle pack, and this again is completely ridiculous. 75431. Yes, it's 327s, and like I said before, it goes very well together with the commander from the MTT. So you buy one large set to get the commander, and then you buy a couple of battle packs, to scale out the troops. However, this is, I mean, if you look at the current lineup of battle packs, of course, this is a similar concept than the 75372, which had 4 clones, 5 droids, and it was, I think, $30 if I recall correctly. Yes, it was $30. So the new one is 4 clones, 3 droids, so less. It's actually a smaller set. And they decided, okay, let's go for $15 more. In Europe, it's just €10, but I don't know. I think Lego just knows people will buy this stuff for the minifigures, and they will buy it like crazy, and they just go for it. Anyhow, while it is the most, at least in the US, the most obscene when it comes to the price point, compared to the previous one in quotes, I do like the 2 builds. Droid looks cool. The Walker is still too big, but it looks cool. It's a much better design compared to the old one from the 501st. And while it's still too big, I think it's still a pretty cool design. And I really like that it's all in yellow, which I think is really cool. And of course, I forgot to mention before with the MTT, the clone troopers also now have a molded shoulder pad, like for an ARC trooper. I think they didn't have to throw in that many because most clones don't wear them. I think usually just ARC troopers do. But I think that's also good news because you could, because they are not yellow, they have more like a tan tone, so you could use these shoulder pads also with other troops. However, I would have preferred if they would have used like something like dark bluish gray. This is at least how I remember it from Clone Wars. But I think in general it's good to have these. So all in all, a nice battle pack is just $15 too high, or €10. Which is quite ridiculous. With that, moving on to actually the only set, I think, where the price point is okay, in quotes, if you can ever say okay for a price point in LEGO Star Wars. 75432, the V19 Tauren Starfighter. This is actually a starfighter, I think, that we didn't saw that much in Clone Wars. I mean, yeah, no, I think we saw it quite a lot. I mean, why not? Anyhow, it has a really cool minifigure lineup again, because, you know, you have Ventress as a new figure, which is really, really cool. I think they also created a new mold for her lightsabers, which I think is really cool. At least I haven't seen this mold before. I don't know, maybe they used it before, I don't know. At least I've never seen it. And also very high quality Obi-Wan, including arm prints. So basically he's now up on the same quality level than Mace Windu is, which is really, really cool. And then we have the pilot, of course, with the pilot helm. I think there are a ton of people who paid a lot of money to Clone Army Customs and companies like that for this kind of helmet. You know, usually, like, I don't know, I guess it's around $4 or $5 for a helmet, because we really need these, right, for our gunships and everything. So it's so cool that we now have this helmet again, also from LEGO. And yeah, I think the design itself looks also really cool. It looks very modern when it comes to the brick building techniques. There are some stickers involved, but I think you can easily ignore them. Not sure if I like the yellowish or trans yellow canopy, but next to that, I think it is a pretty cool fighter. The only thing I would complain about right now is that, of course, the clone pilot itself, like the torso and the legs, especially, or the hips, to be more precise, are not really LEGO's best, because they're not even printed. And as we just saw, LEGO can do better nowadays, but the helmet is really cool. So very nice set. Then we move on to Jango Fett Starship 75433. And again, maybe I forgot the V19 price. It's €65 or US dollars, 11.5 cents a piece. So that's what I meant. It is, I think, again, it's not cheap, for sure not, but it's at least not as crazy as most of the other sets are. And then we have Jango Fett Starship 75433. Obviously, we had a UCS one this spring. And now we have a Playscale version, which I still think looks really cool. Minifigure lineup is a bit mixed. Like Boba Fett is still the messy figure from the UCS set. I think Jango Fett is the same. Maybe in the UCS he had an arm print. I think he had, right? He had an arm print including the rocket launcher. So this is a slightly simplified version of Jango Fett, but you have a Kaminoan in this set. And I think the very first male version, which is really cool. I mean, we should be fair, there are only two now. In the movies, I think we saw only these two, right? I think in Clone Wars we saw a few more, but never that many. Nevertheless, you now have a headpiece for a male Kaminoan, and I think that means you can even use this to create more variety, right? Because you can use other torsos and skirts. And I think that is really good news that we have now the Prime Minister as a minifigure. So price point is $70 US or €70, which again, price per piece at least is even cheaper than the V19 is. So again, this thing is okay from that point of view. So long story short, the battle pack is ridiculous from a price point. The Juggernaut as well. The MTT is a tough pill to swallow. V19 seems to be okay. Jango Fett Starship seems to be okay. ATST, it's somewhere in the middle. So, however, what I can say is I really like all of these sets. A bit different is, of course, another brick build figure, in this case Wicket the Ewok 75430, 1010 pieces, and this one is going to cost you $120 US or 120 euros. I like the design. I'm not really sure if I like how he has the legs positioned. They look like he really needs to go to the toilet. At least this is how it feels to me. But the minifigure that comes with it is quite cool as well. You have a plaque. In general, I really like the design, except that the legs somehow feel wrong. They're just too small. They don't have this teddy bear look that I remember, at least from the movies. But next to that, I think it's quite a cool design. And at least I think looks a lot better than Chewbacca did. So yeah. Anyhow, with that, we're done with the announcements. Also in availability, July 1st was the Battle Droid with Stab. Speaking of buildable figures, 75428. I did talk about this one. Price point hasn't changed, now available. Then there's another August 1st announcement, this time from the Botanical Collection. They will make a Hibiscus 10372. Price point is going to be $70 US. I'm not really into flowers, but I must say I really don't like this one. I think they did much better Botanical Collection sets in the past. I don't know, the pot itself looks a bit too simple. You can't see any earth, at least that's how it looks or feels here. And it feels, I don't know, the entire, the brown part or the dark tan part feels too clean for my taste and too straight. I don't know. For me, this doesn't feel like a flower. It looks wrong. It looks more like a pillar. It's too clean, too straight. So yeah, not really my cup of tea. I like a lot more the other Botanical Collection set that they announced for August 1st, the bonsai trees, 10373. I mean, I would argue that the bonsai from Icons back in the day is really what started the Botanical Collection, and so it's cool that they are coming back and making more bonsais. And I really like the tree work itself. I like the color scheme. They use tan and dark tan here for the bark, which is really cool, I think. What I don't like are the stands. They look a bit too blocky and simple for my taste, and the pots as well. So however, all the, let's say, the tree work, the limb work looks quite nice. Price point is going to be $65 US, 60 euros. Also, August 1st, they will release the Icons arcade machine. So we had Pac-Man, I think it was, right, back in the day. I think that was that last year or the year before? Can't recall. Anyhow, 40805 is the new arcade machine. It's a lot smaller, so don't underestimate this or overestimate this thing in its size and what it is. You have to pay 40 euros or $40 US. Has a minifigure included. This thing has an interior. I think this is like a bazillion stickers. So it seems like almost nothing is printed, not even this curved slope. But it feels like, because you can see the injection point, I think, in the middle. So I think at least the 6x6 space, I guess this is Space Invaders, right? The 6x6 tile in the center is actually pad printed. But it seems to me that this is the only piece in the entire set. The brick design itself, I think, is really cool, quite nice. It looks authentic. It looks in proportion correctly, and it has a full-blown interior, which I think is really nice. With that, moving on to another Creator 3-in-1 set, 31171, again, release August 1st. The Majestic Rhino with birds. Next to the rhino, you can also make a hippo and, oh my god, what is the last thing called in English? In German, it's Walrus, but I have no idea, actually. I'm sorry. 3 animals, all in light bluish gray. Personally, I must say, I find the color scheme a bit boring, but this is nothing Lego can do much about. But yeah, in general, I'm a huge fan of the series, but this one is not really, catching me. Anyhow, you have to pay for it. 60 euros or $60 US, and it's going to release August 1st. With that, moving on to availabilities no, it should be available, but I think it's already on back order. How to Train Your Dragon, Toothless, 10375, now available. I mean, yeah, not much has changed. The only interesting thing is that it seems there is an availability issue with Lego. Yeah, will ship in 60 days, so it seems the demand on this one is quite high. I think it's, again, one of those sets that is not just for us, brick enthusiasts, but also for the broader audience. and fan base of the movie. Also available is the Shelby Cobra 427SC 10357. For me personally, still one of the most beautiful cars ever made. In general, what Shelby was doing back in the day was really, really amazing. I really love these cars. I've never seen one. I think I never saw one for real, but on pictures and from movies, I think it's an absolutely beautiful car. 1,241 pieces. And you have to pay $160 US or 150 euros. And then also available is the Nike Dunk Set 43008. Nothing has changed also on the price point, $100 US or 100 euros. And again, it seems like Lego has this thing on back order. Yeah, will ship July 26th. So yeah, it seems same story. I guess this is also a set for sneakerheads and not just for the brick enthusiast. With that, we are coming to the very last announcement. This is actually September 1st. Everything else we just talked about is August 1st. This is September. The next Wicked, Glinda and Alphaba bookends is 75691. I really like the set, I must say. I think it's quite a nice design. It has 6 amazing minifigures with a ton of detail. We talked about some of these minifigures in the past. It's not the first Wicked set that Lego is making, but I really like the minifigures. And there's interior in this set where you can hide all of these minifigures, which I think is really cool. So yeah, I like these bookends. Seems to be a new thing. Lego's doing more and more of these. Chinese retailers have been, or Chinese manufacturers have been in this topic for quite a while, actually. So it seems Lego is now catching up. With that, we are done with Lego. Yeah, I should mention this set is $130 US or 120 euros, around 9 to 10 cents per piece. With that, moving on to LEYI, and here we have 2 dragons. First, the red dragon, 99001. And this thing has 1,736 pieces. It is not a small dragon. It's almost, the wingspan is 33 inches. No, that's the depth. The wingspan, I'm sorry, is 18 inches, and then the depth is 33 inches. At least that's the numbers that I currently have. So it's quite a large dragon. It has quite an extensive hoard. As far as I can tell, you just have, it's a little bit like the Lego bonsai that I mentioned, right? Where you were throwing in 200 one by one round tiles into the bucket. And I think this seems to be the same concept here, just, with a lot of golden pieces and trans pieces for jewelry, etc., etc. And yeah, I think that's cool. A red dragon should have a hoard. So in general, nice idea. I really like the dragon. I think it has a cool brick build design. Feels a bit like Lego's Ninjago dragons, but maybe at a slightly more attractive price point. You can order this from China for around $60 US. Again, please keep in mind, from China, your mileage may vary depending on where you live, with shipping and customs and everything. Then they also have a black dragon, 1,512 pieces. This one, I must say, personally, I don't like that much. I mean, he's standing on ruins, which is quite cool. Or it is standing on ruins. I've actually no idea if it's a he or she or whatever. But the dragon itself, I don't know, it has like a silver, maybe armored headpiece. Not really sure. And at least, I don't know, I don't like it that much. Plus the legs look a bit weird, like too tiny. But yeah, here you go. If you're interested in a black dragon, size, I think, is similar to the red one. Then an update we now have available, both in the Amazon UK and US marketplaces, as well as Pantasy's own website. The Windmill Workshop, I think I did talk about this one 2 weeks ago. So now we have official pictures, official prices, 85026 for the 2,400 pieces. For instance, you pay in the US Amazon store around $130 US. And in the UK one, 130 quid. Please keep an eye out. There may also be Prime Days. coverage for this one. Actually, it's something I cannot check out because I'm not a Prime member in the UK store. But as always, I think US does not, but the UK or / Europe has right now Amazon Prime Days this week. So if you're interested in any Pantasy or Funnel sets, Mode Kang, and you're from Europe, I would recommend to check out Prime Days. Usually these companies have their own stores on Amazon, and they usually go very deep on the discount side during Prime Days. And yeah, with that, moving on to Reobrix, and they have we have now on pre-order actually 2 amazing architecture sets. So these are very large, so they are more comparable, I would guess, on the Lego side with the icon stuff, like the Eiffel Tower and Colosseum and stuff like that. So they have first the Campanile from Di San Marco, or Venice, basically, 55013, 3,903 pieces. This is a very large set. It is almost 89 inches in height, or almost a meter. So these are not small sets. This one here is going to cost you $140 from my Chinese retail partner. And yeah, it's a very large set. It has, I think, a nice proportions, nice detail. I just visited this place last year. It is an impressive site. And yeah, you can have it now in your home for $140 US. And then even bigger is the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which I personally have actually never seen. 66025, 7,652 pieces, almost 45 inches in height, or 1 meter and 12 centimeters. And they actually got the leaning part in. So you have 7,500 pieces. My guess is this thing will be around 6 kilograms. And yeah, they did the leaning part, which is quite interesting. So really, I'm really interested in how they did it, how they pulled this off, and how stable it's actually going to be. But it's a very cool set, and I think it should look together amazing with, for instance, Lego's icons / architecture sets, the large ones. Really, really cool. However, it's a ton of stuff in there, and so it's currently with Bawi on pre-order. With the original box, it's almost $400, and without, it's slightly lower at $330 US. Then I don't want to go into much detail. Just check out ZTB if you're interested, the brand Sembo. I will also link a couple of sets down below. We now also have a ton of Sembo car sets. Sembo is not doing a license, so they have very generic names, but I guess if you're a petrolhead, you know what these cars are all about. So they have like 4 1x14 Technic sets announced, and then also smaller ones that are more like 8-stud cars. I will link them down below in case you're interested. The large ones, the 1x14 will cost you like, I think, something like $30, and I think you can also buy all 4 of them in a bundle, and the same is true for these smaller ones. Just check out the brand Sembo and you will see this immediately. With that, we are done with set updates. Just one quick reading recommendation. I did publish a review on the Acclamator class Assault Ship 75404. So with that, I think, the Home 1 is still missing. I will publish a review hopefully tomorrow on this one. So then I'm back on track with the Starship collection. I think I have built all of them at this point. However, some of them I did cover just on my German YouTube channel, but nevertheless, we have now full coverage. It's a nice set. I really like it, I must say. Home 1, not so much. Again, review I will publish tomorrow, but the 75404 is a really cool set, I think. I've always been a big fan of this ship, and I think Lego did it justice. It's not a perfect set, for sure not. So if you're interested, please check out my review. With that, we are done with the show. As always, no matter where you watch this or listen to this, comment, rate, like, subscribe, follow, whatever it is called on your respective podcast or video platform. As always, this show is uploaded in a video version, usually to YouTube, of course, as our primary platform, but also on Spotify and TikTok, if I manage to do so. And then, of course, the audio version is on all the major podcast platforms. Again, all the social media buttons, if you press them, this is highly appreciated. With that, thanks for listening. See you next week.